Okay. Good afternoon. I would like to spend the next 15 minutes before the break talking to you about developing a learning strategy for BIM. My name is Gordon McGlathery. I'm the head of training at Cadassist Limited. We are a authorized training center for Autodesk, an authorized partner, and for the past 13 years, I've been spending taking that time to help our customers develop learning strategies for their technologies, and in particular the last 8 years, helping organizations make this transition to BIM. And that's across all aspects of the construction industry, so clients, contractors, architects, civil engineers, structural, building services, local government, manufacturers, providing advice and guidance on making this move. And one of the things that we're noted for Autodesk here in the UK is our overall customer experience and being at the top of the league table consistently for Autodesk here in the UK. We train about 1,500 people a year, and so we're very serious about training, and I think we all should, in this room, should be serious about training too, because as we make this move to BIM Level 3, we're being asked to work in a more connected, more collaborative, more data-centric, more interconnected way than we've ever been asked to work before. And as we're faced with new ways of working, new ways of collaborating, new ways of working with our partners, new ways of sharing data, there will be new skills and new capabilities that we'll need to learn and adopt in order to cope with this change. And so in order to cope with this change, I believe that we do need a learning strategy. Now, I think a good way of putting this in perspective, many of us have seen this graphic before. It's actually a definition of BIM as being equal parts technology, process, and people. And true BIM lies at the center. So all of us have certainly spent a lot of time on the technology side of things and our technology strategy. Graham, I do apologize that clear box is not in that graphic. I'll make sure that that's in it next time around. Similarly, on the process side of things, we're spending a lot of time on our BIM execution plan and our employer information requirements, but what about the people side? Because if we're to believe this premise that true BIM is at the center of technology, process, and people, shouldn't we be spending the same amount of time, or at least the same amount of attention on people? Now, you might be saying, well, we don't need a learning strategy for people. We just hire the best people we can and put them in the right place. And I'd like to suggest today that we actually do need a little bit more than that. And so I believe that we need a learning strategy. And I think the first component of that learning strategy is a recognition that BIM requires a multi-level approach to learning, because BIM affects all levels of our organization. So it's not just about the technical side, it's not just about the software, it's about the operational and the strategic side as well. Our project managers need new skills, our directors need new skills. So you need a multi-level approach to tackling this multi-level challenge. I think the second thing that you need in your BIM strategy is you need to clearly define your outcomes. So what skills do we need to make this transition to BIM? Are there different BIM roles in our organization? Absolutely. And there are different skills that are aligned to those different roles. So I believe that you actually need to write these all down. You need to put together a set of skills that are associated with each role within your business that is being affected by BIM, and in the end, you have a skills map. And that map is a very powerful tool that you can use to drive decisions about recruitment, about project management, about promotion, within your business, and certainly about training. A good place to start in putting that map together, the BIM Learning Outcomes Framework that was published by the Government BIM Task Group. Actually, the first draft of this had 528 separate skill items in it that was determined that you needed to learn in order to make the transition to BIM. Slightly overwhelming, I think. Thankfully, it makes for much better reading now. This has been reduced down to 32 capabilities. The third component that I believe you need is you need to know your starting point. You need to have something that will allow you to measure the gap. So some tool that will allow you to analyze the skills to determine how those skills are aligned to that map that you've just created. And I'm continually surprised by the number of organizations, some of them very large, that have no ability to analyze their skills. And it begs the question, how are they able to manage what they're not measuring? And I believe that the task of assessing your user skills is the most important assessment that you'll make as a business. And there's nothing that will affect your move to BIM in terms of its success or limiting that move than user expertise. Here's an example of what I'm talking about in terms of gap analysis. So this is the output from a skills analysis tool. These color bars are topic by topic results for a group of, in this case, 6 users that have been learning how to use software for a year by watching videos. And so before we embarked on a training program, we needed to know what people knew. And this allowed us to analyze the gap and design a training program that is absolutely focused on filling that gap. So the areas that they knew, we could ignore altogether, saving them time and money. Final note on skills analysis, recruitment. Again, I'm really, it's a bit dumbfounding to me that an organization that's hiring a new member of their technical team, and that hiring decision is based on their technical skills, and they have no way of actually measuring those technical skills. It seems very risky to me. It seems really like a no-brainer. You need a skills analysis tool. The fourth component, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but if you're responsible for your BIM strategy and then indirectly your BIM learning strategy, you need to understand this fact that people learn in different ways, different styles of learners. And you need to have a BIM learning strategy that addresses those different types of learners. So that needs to be a component of your strategy. Now, the fifth component that I would recommend that you have for a great learning strategy is a great training function. And according to Richard Lane, as a member of the UK BIM Task Group, the development of new skills is the critical enabler for the transition to more effective working practices enabled by BIM. Investment in high-quality training is key to achieving success. Now, what Richard didn't go on to say was what he meant by high-quality training. And I'd like to suggest my 30 years in the training business that great training boils down to 4 things. I should say great training delivery boils down to four things. Great training includes everything that we've discussed up till now, but great training delivery, I believe, boils down to, in this case, we're talking about technical skills. So, expert with the software, goes without saying. Ability to share that expertise effectively. That's not necessarily a given. Many of us may have been in a training course, and at the front of that room has been an expert with a software that didn't have the ability to share his or her expertise effectively, and that turned out to be a very long training course. So Communication skills, facilitation skills, all key. If you have an in-house training function at your company, I'd really strongly suggest, if you haven't done so, invest in train the trainer training for the person that's delivering that training. There are sets of skills that you need in order to be an effective trainer. Thirdly, the trainer has to have walked a mile in your shoes in order to put the training into context. And then finally, a willingness to tailor that training to meet your needs. I think you need all four of these in order to have a great training function. This final point about willingness to tailor training to meet your needs. If you do have needs, please communicate them to the trainer that you're working with. So if you have BIM protocols, if there's a project that you're working on and you want the training to be wrapped around those, let them know. Please let them know. I think the next component for your learning strategy needs to be the recognition that really the training is just beginning. The learning is just beginning when the training ends. So there's all sorts of learning that's happening outside the classroom. Two of the most important components, I think, immediately after a training session is mentoring and support. So you need a mentor to help that new user put those new skills into context. Those new users need to have support. They have to have the ability to pick up the phone or send an email to get an answer to the question that's where they're really under some pressure to learn. This final point, some of the best learning that I've seen around BIM is around independent reviews. So this could be either at a technical or an operational level. So a technical level might be a review of one of your building models. Operational level might be a review of your BIM protocols. But the learning that goes around those engagements very powerful, because those learning events are absolutely focused on solving real business issues that are affecting project profitability. And it allows that organization to raise its game and spread those best practices on every subsequent BIM project that they work on. Now we're taking a big step forward. I think the next component for a great learning strategy is having a learning platform or a learning management system, an LMS. And as the name implies, an LMS is a system that manages your learning. So if you could imagine for a second, instead of having to think about putting all of your learning into a particular learning event as a beginning and an end, you put your learning into a management system that gives your users access to learning 365 days a year. And just think about the implication of that. Anytime, anywhere training, bite-sized training, modular training, training that's just in time at that individual's pace in their own time. It's pretty exciting. I put a few of these learning management systems up. I mentioned Moodle because those of you that graduated from university in the past 10 years probably would have come across Moodle as probably their industry standard in higher education for a learning management system. But there are others that are, if you don't have time to develop your own, there are others that are purpose-built, off the shelf, give you access to thousands of hours of instruction, not just video-based, but hands-on learning, assessments built into the learning management system. Reporting, terrific reporting, so you can see who's learning what and when. Even software plugins so that the learning is actually embedded into the software that you're using. So the learning is instantaneous as users come across a question presents itself and the answer is there. So it's very exciting. And then the final piece, I would say, and this is more of an attitude and more of a philosophy than anything else. I think you need to commit to and adopt an approach of ongoing learning. Learning is just the landscape for moving to BIM Level 3. We just need to accept that. And if you can adopt an approach that gives your users access to learning, that will allow them to learn, apply those skills, and then come back and learn again. And in this process of continual learning and continual improvement will help you in your move to BIM. It's actually a philosophy that's embodied in Kaizen, which is actually a Japanese business philosophy, where a lot of multinational Japanese corporations have based their businesses on this simple philosophy of learning, continually learning, and continually improving. So when you get back to your office tomorrow and your boss asks you, what did you learn at that BIM Level 3 conference, you can tell them, well, actually, boss, I think we need to adopt a much more Kaizen approach to the way that we do things around here, and hopefully you'll be impressed. So I guess in summary, I'd like to ask you to please give your learning strategy equal time as your technology and your process strategy. And a good way of thinking about it is sort of a three-legged chair. Your BIM learning strategy will support your move to BIM Level 3 as much as your strategy around your process and your technology. And the final word on this, I'm going to fast forward to you actually having put together your learning strategy and you're presenting it to the board. And like any investment, they want to know the risk reward. Okay, well, what happens if we train everybody and they leave? This is a bit of a big audience to throw a question out, but I have a 50% coupon on our training if anyone can give me a good answer to this question. Does anyone have a good answer to this question?
The answer is, what if we don't train them and they stay?
Thank you very much. Thank you.